Director Harris,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hollebush,
Here.
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Minor,
Here.
Director Hart,
Here.
Director Roberts,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. At this time, we'll stand for our invocation given by Director Barbara Minor. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be given tonight by our bi-state building manager, Christine Barron, who is sitting by Chris Manley, I think, back there somewhere. So, all right.
Pray with me. Lord, it is just with gratitude that we hold you so dear. You are so good to us. You love us so strongly. And Lord, help us to repay some of the things that you do give us. Guide and direct us in decisions. Thank you for people who are interested, who have come, and help us to have a meeting that would be pleasing unto you. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge. No.
She's trying to take this
To that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank
You
you.
may be seated. So at this time, we're going to move right on into our citizens' communication time. The first card, just take them in the order that I was given, is Ms. Phyllis Haynes to discuss the animal shelter.
Do I come up there to you guys?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have photos.
Okay.
These photos, there's a bit of an issue with the present director. I've just not got five, so sorry, I didn't know how many to run. An issue with
Oh,
the
you have? Okay.
current director of the shelter due to, as you'll see in the photos, due to her breeding puppies, breeding dogs. It's always been my understanding that the Animal Care and Control Center is to focus on spay and neuter for all area animals of whatever type. And just from looking at these photos that I've been supplied and run copies of, you can see that Miss Lenore is...
Ma'am, just under citizens' communication, we don't address anyone by name.
Okay, I
Just
didn't
by
know
strictly
that.
by
I
position.
didn't
Thank
know
you.
that. Thank you, sorry. Anyway, you can see that this person is indeed breeding dogs for the purpose of making money. And to me, that's just not, it's a conflict of interest, it's not ethical, and I completely am not in favor of her being in the position that she is because of that. Two other ladies that were at the center did a fabulous job. They worked with the rescue organizations, they worked with businesses and also local people to do sponsorships for the dogs so that they were cheaper to adopt, and they did well. The euthanization rates were lower, and the adoption rates were out just awesome. But I'm just sketchy about this person in particular because of the photos that I've supplied you with. So if y'all could look into that, if y'all could address that. I know you've already addressed the issue of the monies, and I appreciate that because there were questions, but if you would look into what I've supplied you with and possibly give a feedback to the public and maybe correct that in some way, it would be very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Do you want to go ahead? All right. Director Harris had submitted a request by email. He'll be next.
On February the 4th, 2022, I received information for a call to action for state and local legal from the Biden administration through the American Rescue Plan, ARP implementation team. The White House Office of Intermittent Government Affairs stated that Tuesday, February the 8th is Child Tax Credit and Earned Income Credit Day of Action. And we are calling on state and local leaders to ensure residents are aware and are assessing these critical dollars to help make ends meet. And then, and this statement too from the White House, government. You may consider taking action by launching email and text campaign to your resident, partner with local agency and VITA sites to ensure residents assess these important benefits and raising awareness through social media and more. Besides stating about this morning, I went to Cheatham Tax Service at 501 East 9th Street, Texarkana, Arkansas, and shared with her business about tax filer and about tax filer and non-filer. Even though Miss Michelle Cheatham was well versed on the information of child's tax credit and earned income tax credit, I left some files with her to post at her business. Next, I went to San Flat Community Center and explained I was there on behalf of the White House Intermittent Government Affairs and stated Tuesday, February 8th was Child's Tax Credit and Earned Income Credit Tax Day of Action. Then I went to Iron Mountain Center Community Center and stated the same and left flowers also. These are the key points I need to state about the Child Tax Credit, tax credit and Earned Income Tax Credit Day of Action are a new child tax credit and earned income credit are bigger than ever. The child's tax credit was increased to expanding in 2021 by the American Rescue Plan, and most families are eligible to receive credit for their children. For families with kids, for 2021 child tax credit is $300,000 to $600,000 per kid based on their age. This year was the first time the earned income tax credit can be worth up to $1,500 for some workers without kids at home, nearly tripling the credit in 2020 because of change made by American Rescue Plan. Filing a tax return is the best way to receive full child tax credit and earned income credit. Many families receive about half of their CTC in monthly payment in 2021. Families would get the rest of the CTC they are owed by filing tax return this year. And you can go to childtaxcredit.gov for can help. Free tax help is available to file tax return through. Go to Child Tax Credit at Gov and to learn more. I would end if a member of the ARP implementation team of the White House or the Intermittent Government Affairs is watching this or will see this. Tell Mr. President Biden thanks for caring about the poor, the disenfranchised, and the underrepresented. Lane Harris, City Director, Ward 2, City of Texarkana, Arkansas, and zip code 71854. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else tonight that wishes to address the board during citizens' communication time? Yes? You just state your name for the record.
Christina Tutt. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christina Tutt, and I'm the president of the Texarkana Animal Coalition Team. Texarkana has an animal services crisis. The city boasts on its webpage this statement: your city staff is here to help you. No matter what the problem you're facing, you can count on your city staff to help you out. We have plenty of city resources and emergency resources designed to help residents. This is sadly not the case in practice when it comes to animal services. I won't echo the issues that have already been voiced here tonight or in past meetings. I would like instead to offer a 7-step roadmap to get the department where it needs to be. 1, please publicly adopt a mission statement that balances public safety and animal welfare. 2, increase field intake and increase related enforcement and education to prevent dogs from roaming. Roaming dogs are a liability to the city. Seek grants for low-cost spay-neuter services in low-income areas of the city. Step 4, create a collaborative community of animal welfare partners. Step 5, make animal services a priority and strengthen accountability within city government to include prosecution of animal abuse and neglect cases which are so often tied to domestic violence in our communities. Step 6, ensure efficiency by measuring outcomes and increasing volunteers. And last but not least, increase positive outcomes for Texarkana's animals, reserving euthanasia for the sickest or most dangerous of animals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mayor, what organization?
Animal Coalition Team.
Texarkana Animal Coalition Team.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Amy Stanley. I am a foster mom for Passion for Pooches Rescue, and I have volunteered with other services, including the shelter, under previous directors. I am here to let you know of a massive amount of citizen concern. And like the lady before me said, I'm not going to belabor other points, but we have been inundated with people letting us know that they are not able to get in contact with the shelter. Their phone calls are not being answered. They're not being returned. They're being turned away at the door. There was more with the spay and neutering of adopted animals. They're not able to get appointments. Some people are taking the altering of their animals into their own hands. And that can't happen. I know that the breeding has already been brought up, so I'll only say that breeding is the antithesis of what animal services is. The shelter is set up because we have an overpopulation problem. And I know there are responsible breeders out there. I'm not slamming everybody. But for someone in that position, it is concerning. For the shelter to be focused on reducing overpopulation and thus serving the entire community, that's what needs to be the focus. I've been told that there's one animal control officer and that people have called for service and they've been refused. There was one lady that said there was a dog at large. She said, I will get the dog, I will hold the dog for you. And they said, don't bother, we don't have anywhere to put it. That can't happen. As Ms. Tutt brought up, animals at large are also a liability for you. In previous instances, directors have collaborated very well with rescues. They've contacted Passion for Pooches, they've contacted Texarkana Animal League and said, hey, can you take this animal? Can you help this animal? That pretty much ceased for a while. We would like to collaborate. We would like the opportunity to get these animals and to help, because we know it can't be all in the city. That's why there are rescue organizations. Basically, transparency to the public is key. The calls, the communication, and I do realize that there has been an increased presence in social media since there have been complaints. So I see that you hear that. I see that. But there needs to be more. I've had people come to me regarding money because in the past I have personally done fundraisers for food. I have raised $1,000 one time, I raised several hundred another time because the city didn't have the budget for food, they ran short, and I asked the public to donate and to feed these animals. Well, now with the bequest, and I understand there was a post made, but with the bequest, people are asking me, hey, I've donated, hey, I've left food. What's going on? Where's my food going? Where's the money going? And I feel like with the way the building and the bequest has been handled, if we ask the public for cooperation in the future, they're going to say, where's my money? What have you done with my funds? There's no transparency. At this point, there's a lot of questions, is what I'm trying to say. I've been in rescue for several years. I've fostered countless dogs. I know a lot of people in this area. People come to me with dogs. I work for Liberty ILO, and just this week, people ask me, hey, this dog's on the playground. Can you take it? No, I'm sorry, our rescue's full. Well, can we take it to the shelter? Maybe, maybe not, you know. And that brings me to another point. I really wish that Texas and Arkansas could find a way to collaborate again. Arkansas is better equipped. They have their own building, you know, they have their facilities. If there's any way we could work that out, I feel like our cities should be able to do that. It gets kind of confusing when what state line, what service do I call, and people don't understand. They call Texas and they say, we can't, and then so they call Arkansas and they say, oh, it's not our jurisdiction. That's confusing to people, and I feel like if we could find a way to collaborate again, that it would benefit the city, the animals, it would benefit everybody. So I would just like to encourage you to foster more communication, more transparency, and some more programs that would be proactive instead of reactive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't fill out a card.
Okay.
I'm not on Facebook, but I do get the message. I'm Carol Sylvie, and I administer the neuter and spay program for the Texarkana Humane Society. And I emailed City Manager Ellington last week, but I have not received a response. But most of the information that she just gave, that's what I put forward to him in the email, and we'd like to see the city come together on this. There's really no other way for it to be successful unless both sides do, because it is so different. Anyway, and that's what I'd say. I'd like an answer to my email that I directed to you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jan Gannon. I absolutely did not intend to speak tonight. I've talked to Jeff, Mr. Hart already today. I'm with all these people. I love them all. I respect them all. And the principles they brought forward, I agree with. I don't agree with the way it's been brought forward. Evidently, a month or two ago, some people came and talked to you about animal control issues. As a result, Mr. Ellington has already put together a focus committee. Several of these things that people have talked about already have been addressed. Just last Friday afternoon, I'm on the committee, thank God. Just, you know, some things spay and neuter. Well, I just don't even know how to go. The director has been brought into a difficult situation. Yes, there were two lovely people that we all loved and cared about a great deal that ran the shelter previously, but when the last one left, the shelter was in very bad disarray. The present lady has come in with no guidance, with not a lot of knowledge about animal control, but she has a business degree. Everybody says, why do you hire somebody for an animal shelter that has a business degree? Because it's a business. You need somebody that knows what they're doing in the front office. Long story short, several of these issues that have been brought up here tonight have been addressed already. Last Friday afternoon, we had a focus committee meeting. We talked about spay and neuter. We talked about response. The lady told us she's already hired 2 new ACOs. I don't even remember what, and we talked about the breeding. That is going to be a big discussion in itself, but the shelter is trying. She came into a mess, and she's trying. The phone systems are working. There's a new Facebook page, an updated Facebook page. It's been there since last October, but a lot of us didn't know that because it looked a lot like the old one. Like I say, I don't agree with what's happening as far as the breeding, but I think the lady's trying.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move right on into our agenda. At this time, we'll have our presentations of our service awards. I'm told, actually, there's only one recipient here. Our city manager will be presenting that. Prior to him coming forward, Chris, you can come on forward if you want to. We have a Patrick Nelson with the Bi-State that has 25 years, Jason Cherry with the Fire Department, 20 years, Montre Jones with the Fire Department, 30 years, Christopher Bocox with the Police Department and our Computer Services Technician Department, 20 years, Michael Lynch with TWU for 5, David Mills with TWU for 15, and Michael Sorrell with TWU for 20 years. Any of those guys here? Y'all give them a round of applause. And at this time, our city manager will recognize Mr. Christopher Manley for the Bi-State for 25 years of service. Chris, thank you very much.
I'd like to get a picture with him as well. I've spent 20 years with him down at Bi-State.
Well, what if he don't want to have a picture made with you?
Well, it'd make me look good. Make me look good. Or as we called him, 6.
Eric, are we going to play the video next? The ready video?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. At this time, we have a short Artex Ready video to show. If somebody can grab the... Chris, since you're up,
Why
if you
do
grab
so
the
many
lights back there.
successful companies call the Texarkana region home?
Dedicated workforce skilled in key industries, world-class transportation infrastructure, strategic location, cutting-edge education and training programs all drive enormous opportunity.
Boasting a turnover rate 33% lower than the national average, the Artex Ready region's workforce is not only brilliantly skilled but dedicated to execute for your business.
With a culture devoted to hard work, our region of American builders is the epitome of 2 words: work ethic.
The Texarkana region provides your business access to 3 major U.S. interstates, 4 U.S. highways, 2 major rail lines, and a regional airport, making it just as easy to connect people as it is to ship products and goods.
More than 190 million tons of freight use our superior infrastructure assets each and every year, making Texarkana the crossroads of North America.
Home to over 300 manufacturing businesses, our products sold worldwide generate $5.5 billion in trade.
Located in the middle of the business-friendly and ever-growing South, your company is within easy reach of consumers and suppliers.
The region is a powerful magnet of young talent.
Texarkana is proud of its distinction as the only community in the country that can call itself home to 2 public university systems, Texas A&M University, Texarkana, and the University of Arkansas, Texarkana.
And a world-class community college that boasts the premier school for advanced manufacturing in the state of Texas.
With an enrollment of nearly 10,000 individuals spread across Texarkana's institutions of higher learning, your business is perfectly positioned to recruit top talent.
The Texarkana MSA totals over 40 miles of hiking trails, 7 nationally recognized municipal parks, 8 public lakes, and an almost endless number of wonderful sporting facilities so you can play just as hard as you work.
If you like outdoor activities with a year-round average temperature of 74.5 degrees, come make this paradise the place for your next business.
And with no state income tax, relocating your business to Texarkana provides you and your business immediate savings.
The Artex Ready region is one of the lowest costs of doing business locations in the country. And with no state income tax, why would you wait to come tap into Texarkana?
Thank you. At this time, just for the public's knowledge, our City just went through an audit for our 2020 audit. We received that in a workshop. I reported that audit in a workshop at 5 o'clock today. At this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Cynthia Burns with BKD Accountants that will give our audit, a brief audit presentation to the board and the public. Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you. We completed the city's audit, and want to thank the city for giving us the opportunity to perform your audit. Starting out, have this slide here that just shows the objectives of the audit, providing an opinion on the financial statements being materially stated in all material respects, reporting on your compliance with certain laws and regulations, issuing a report on your internal controls over financial reporting and compliance requirements, issuing a report on compliance for the major federal program and internal controls over that program, and then issuing a report on your compliance with certain state laws. And as I mentioned, we had some required communications with the board earlier today. And I just wanted to highlight just a few of the slides here. We went over the numbers there with the board. And now these numbers are as of the end of 19 and the end of 20, but you can see that the city is consistently maintaining fund balance to take care of current expenditures every year. The GFOA recommends 2 months, which is 60 days, but you can see that the city runs more in the 130 days on this number, and that's been consistent for a number of years. And then the key things from this audit, on your financial report itself, got an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can receive. No material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. On your single audit, on the compliance, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted there. We tested the CARES Act funding that the city received in 20 and had no issues with that. And then the last report that we did is on the city's compliance with certain Arkansas state laws, and we issued an unmodified opinion on that as well. So excellent job by the city staff to take care of the finances for the year 2020.
Does anyone have any questions of Cynthia?
No, outstanding.
Thank you.
Cynthia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we will move into our consent agenda. We have several items tonight on our consent agenda. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes of a rescheduled meeting on January the 18th, adopting a resolution rescheduling Juneteenth city holiday for the Board of Directors' second meeting in June, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the U.S. Highway 82 East 8-inch sewer main extension Phase 1, adopting a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the City of Texarkana, Texas for the Police Criminal Investigation Division CID services, adopt a resolution to purchase a Ford Edge for Narcotics Task Force operation, adopting a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a New Holland TS6 110 tractor for the Public Works Department Street Division, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a John Deere mini excavator for the Public Works Department Street Division, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a used water truck for the Public Works Department Street Division, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a used pneumatic roller for the Public Works Department, and adopting a resolution amending the 2022 budget to include the reallocation of the 2021 funding for the Nicks Creek improvements. What would be the board's desire on the approval of the consent agenda?
I make a motion to, second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda passes. We'll move right on into our regular agenda, which will get us down to item number 14, which is to adopt a resolution accepting the year-end 2020 audit report.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, City Board of Directors, and City Manager, Mr. Ellington. The year-end 2020 audit is presented for acceptance by the Board of Directors. All audit recommendations will be seriously reviewed considering the costs and benefits of implementation. Copies of the audit report and the audit management letter have been made available for directors prior to the meeting. Are there any questions?
Any director have any questions?
Thank you.
We'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas the 2020 audit's been prepared, and whereas the audit's been reviewed by the Board of Directors, and whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the 2020 audit is accepted, passed and approved the 7th day of February 2022.
I've heard the resolution. Director Harris.
Oh, I was going to say move for adoption.
All right.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. The resolution passes. Item number 15 is to adopt a resolution for the city manager to enter into a lease agreement on the behalf of the Texarkana Regional Airport with Flight Solutions for the construction of 3 airport hangars. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. We have been approached over this last year by 5 different groups that were interested in creating proposals. We pretty much laid it out that it would be on a first-come, first-served basis. Flight Solutions was the first one to actually put together the whole packet out of complete transparency. It is, I do want all of the members to know that the individual who would be leading this construction is one of my board members. They did abstain, and we made sure to brief both of the city managers prior to taking it to the airport board to make sure that this was known by both cities.
Is there any other discussion? Director Harrison.
Is there a reason why the lease agreement is 40 years?
So the way that we determine the length of a lease is based off of the capital investment. We have a requirement of a $2 million investment for a 40-year lease. The anticipated capital investment for this project is $3.4 million, thus crossing that threshold. We do not usually enter into 50-year agreements at the airport. That is the maximum the FAA will allow, and those are usually preserved for much higher levels of investment.
And what you mean by capital investment? I understand what you're saying, but just for the public, understand what you mean.
Yes, so capital investment is permanent structures that are built. In this case, the individuals are looking at building 3 permanent hangars that at the end of that 40-year period would become property of the airport, which we could then turn around and instead of doing a ground lease, we would be doing a building lease rate.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Paul? We'll instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texarkana Airport Authority requests authority to enter into a lease with Flight Solutions LLC to allow for construction and operation of 3 aircraft hangars upon airport property. And whereas the proposed lease is approved by the authority after adherence by the authority to all applicable processes and requirements, and further after the authority's consultation with its separate legal counsel is presented with such a proposal, whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the above described lease of property is approved, passed and approved the 7th day of February 2022.
So you've heard the resolution read by the city attorney. What would be the board's desire to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Moving right along, we are on item number 16, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Spears Engineering Company for the design of the U.S. Highway 71 North 42-inch water main relocation project. I understand Gary is not here, but Mr. Eisenhower is. How are you? Welcome.
Just fine. Good to be here tonight. Thank
All right. Just give a little brief
you. Okay.
synopsis about what we're doing there on 71.
Okay, the Arkansas Department of Transportation gave us notice in January that they plan on doing a little project from the end of the Red River Bridge, about 7,000 feet to the north. Looks like they're going to be raising the pavement anywhere from 5, 7, 8 feet, depending on where you're at. It's going to cause the front slopes of the road to extend out on each side quite a bit. We have a 42-inch water main that runs from the Millwood water plant all the way to our treatment plant here in town. It's a 42-inch ductile iron pipe, and the slopes and most of the water structures that they will have to extend will be over on our pipe, our water main. We are on a private easement, so what has to be done would be 100% reimbursable. The construction cost to move our line, we have an estimate of about $3.7 million. Mr. Spears' estimate to do the design is $139,100.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Eisenhower? Yes.
I know you said 100% reimbursement. Who you mean paying for this? The water company?
State of Arkansas.
You said the highway department?
State of Arkansas, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas in connection with the U.S. Highway 71 North 42-inch water main relocation project, Texarkana Water Utilities has determined it necessary to retain an out-of-house engineering firm for design services. And whereas TW recommends Spears Engineering Company due to its familiarity with this type of work. And whereas based on projected construction cost, the proposed engineering contract is $139,100. Whereas the city manager and utility staff recommend board approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is authorized to enter into an engineering contract with Spears Engineering Company for the purposes and in the amount set forth above, passed and approved the 7th day of February 2022.
So you've heard the resolution that's read by the city attorney. What would be the board's desire to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve of the resolution. Is there any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Resolution passes. So we'll move right into item 17 and item 18. Remind the board, these are ordinances. Both of these ordinances also have requested emergency clauses. Item number 17 is to adopt an ordinance for updating the repair of the city storm siren system. Chief Fletcher.
Okay, that looks good, thank you. So good evening, Mayor, Directors, Mr. Ellington. After much work on this project, we believe we have a proposal that will get us where we need to be on the storm siren situation. Some preliminary information before we get started. The Texarkana, Arkansas has 15 storm sirens strategically located around the city. You can kind of see all the coverage areas and the 15 sirens there. The coverage is very good. It's not complete. You can kind of see some white areas in there. That can be dealt with at a later time. Those are in sparsely populated areas, should I say. The activations of sirens, in case anybody want to know, comes from the Bi-State Justice Center. Okay. As most of you are aware, we've had some ongoing issues with the system. The project we are proposing is intended to alleviate the issues and make the entire system more reliable and user-friendly. Some of the objectives for the project include migrating all the sirens in Texarkana, Arkansas to a common automated control point at Bi-State shared with the city of Texarkana, Texas. At the moment, they're not really shared. They're usually activated at the same time, but the system will be moving to everything kind of operates as one system. which most of the storms move west to east. So if you're going to have one go off in Texas, it should go off in Arkansas also. The sirens will all be upgraded to enable two-way communications. This will allow us to remotely monitor each siren, and that way we'll know if we have a problem with it. The way we found out in the past is somebody told us they're not working. So we want to get beyond that. Some more objectives. We're going to replace 2 sirens, one at 3500 Garland Avenue, which is 102, and one at 800 Ferguson Street, which is 105. Be one old siren that'll be removed. That's 104. It is kind of redundant and inoperable. We're going to add an additional control point at the fire department's admin offices. That gives us ability to actually sound the sirens from our offices if needed. An additional item with this will be we're going to train several of our personnel to maintain and repair the system. This ought to save in maintenance costs over the life of the system. And by knowing a lot more about what's going on with it, we'll be a lot better at keeping them up and working. If the board approves this proposal, the timeline that I've received from American Signal Corporation is 3 to 4 months. That is time to manufacture the equipment, get everything lined up, and get it done. And that's it. Any questions?
Would that include the training, Chief, as far as the 4 month? Would it include the training for the maintenance and repair of those?
So whether that would be done in that timeline?
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
Yes, it includes.
It would, okay. This is Chris Mass with American Signal
Okay.
Corporation.
Well, Chris,
In case there was any technical questions, I wanted them available.
we just need them to, we need them to work.
Chief, I have a question. Hey, with the remote diagnostics, is that going to give you more tests, more frequent tests?
Well,
testing?
the way it was explained to me was these sirens are going to be in constant contact with the control.
Right.
Whenever they have they're going to be showing either a green light, they're good, yellow light, a minor problem, or red light, it's out, it needs service. That is a big step forward for us, you know. Going around trying to see if for 15 sirens working, that's pretty tough at all times. But it will two-way communications from them.
What causes the lapse in coverage with something like with 108 being so close to that tower, those white spots there?
I believe that has a lot to do with the topography, doesn't it, Chris?
It's a terrain issue.
Yeah. The maps are kind of complicated. It's not necessarily just distance. It has to do with the lay of the land and any kind of obstructions and different things like that. So, you know, as you can tell, the best is in the red, and then we're at still above 90 dB in the orange, which is pretty loud, dropping down to 80 dB with the light green, which is vast majority. And there's some dark green spots up there that are kind of hard to see. That's 70 to 80 dB. Of course, the storm sirens are just designed to alert you if you're outside. You know, basically that's what they do. Inside, you can't hear them.
When you said Ferguson Street, I know I'm assuming you're talking about Grandma Park, right?
Yes, there's basic maintenance that needs to be done with them.
Okay.
You have like batteries need to be changed out every few years, and so they operate without power. You could have sensors go down, just the light frequent maintenance that needs to be done, we could take care of.
And the reason why I was asking that, I know I used to get some calls about that, and I was asked to go over there in the park around about 12 o'clock. So 'cause they
I'll
saying
sit there
they
and
were
wait.
saying that they wasn't really working or not, but are they still gonna be going off each Wednesday, I think at 12?
Yeah, we'll maintain that schedule. Just with the feedback we're gonna be able to get from the sirens, it may not be necessary, but it's nice to have people used to it, hearing it, and you know, and where it's at, so I think we'll maintain that schedule.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Chief, with the storm season coming with spring, and it's, what'd you say, 3 to 4 months?
Yes, sir.
Will the old system still be working while
It
the
will.
new?
It will.
Very good.
Right, pretty much it'll be cut over at, quickly. When
Thank
it's
you.
ready to go.
Any other questions? So I'll remind the board again, this is a ordinance also that the 138, 165, 62 is a non-budgeted expense item. It will come from the general fund. Okay? Yes?
Mayor, I was moved that the ordinance be read and abbreviated form.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the proposal of American Signal Corporation to undertake certain updates and repairs to the city storm siren system, waiving any applicable competitive bidding provision, amending the FY 2022 budget to provide for such acquisition, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its first reading tonight. What would the desire of the board be to have it read on its second reading tonight?
Second reading in abbreviated form, please.
So we have a motion and a second by somebody to have the ordinance read on its second reading tonight in abbreviated form. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the proposal of American Signal Corporation to undertake certain updates and repairs to the city's storm siren system, waiving any applicable competitive bidding provision, amending the FY 2022 budget to provide for such acquisition, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading tonight?
Third and final reading in abbreviated form, please.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final form. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the proposal of American Signal Corporation to undertake certain updates and repairs to the city's storm siren system, waiving any applicable competitive bidding provision, amending the FY 2022 budget to provide for such acquisition, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its third and final reading tonight. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt. Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Prior to the board voting to adopt, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing and seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. So the ordinance passes. The fire department's also requested an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to approve an emergency clause with this ordinance?
Motion to attach an emergency clause.
Second.
Motion and a second to attach an emergency clause to this ordinance. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. The emergency clause passes. So moving right on into our last item on the agenda tonight, it's item number 18, to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Miller County for housing of municipal prisoners at the Miller County Detention Center. Also, the police department has requested an emergency clause. Chief Bennett.
Before you is the interlocal agreement that we've been working with Miller County, Mark Lewis, and the sheriff. It's been a long time coming to get to this point. I think we've got a very good agreement that benefits both the city residents and the Miller County residents as well. I know you've had some time to look at it. Do you have any questions?
Director Harris.
I was looking at the issue about medicine going to the hospital. How is that someone seeking medicine or medical care or something? How much money is going to be allocated for that, and how is that going to be handled?
There's really no way to put a number on that until it occurs. They have an in-house jail. When an inmate comes in and they're processed, the in-house jail will then make an assessment. They'll take care of any medicine needs that they know up front, making sure that that's provided to them. This medical cost in here is what we're looking at is anything of significance, anything that would require an ambulance ride or a significant event in that inmate's life to where we needed to provide emergency medical attention at that moment.
And my other question is, there's any policy special to deal with a prison that in our care and their ability to obtain medical care?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
Is there any policy in place that a prison that in our care, their ability to obtain medical care? Because if a prison needs medical care, I don't want to see one denied
Oh, no,
one way or
absolutely.
another. So how is you gonna have is something in place that keep a prison from being somewhat denied medical care?
I understand that. Well, they've passed jail standards, and one of the jail standards is to ensure that the policies and procedures that they have in place takes care of that issue. I've seen their jail standard, their last certification, and it was clear. They had a few little mistakes and things in there that was easily to be taken care of, which they're working on, but nothing involving medical. So as far as our end, we're trusting that they're doing their job to make sure that our inmates are taken care of medically.
Do you want to discuss the difference between what we classify as information filing when that person would actually become? It's probably important to figure out who would be
Sure.
responsible for what and how we will arrive at who's who.
Okay, so it's kind of a long process, and it's a little confusing, so if you need some more time later, I'd be more than happy to discuss that with you. And Bobby back there, he is captain over CID, and they're working really hard to put in place to make sure that we've got an individual to come in and help us to make sure that everything is in check. So basically, if an inmate is arrested and it's for a misdemeanor, they come in, they're processed, sometimes they're not even dressed out, and they're out the door. And that's going to be at a rate of $42 a day. Okay? Now, if a judge sentences them, that then becomes Miller County's responsibility because they become part of the court. If we arrest a felony or a felon for a felony charge, they will be our prisoner until information is filed. Okay? Information has to be filed within 60 days. We're trying our best to work with our prosecutors, and we've been successful with that, trying to establish that relationship with the circuit court and the prosecutor and with Miller County themselves to ensure that we can get information filed as quickly as possible. So we're looking at 3 to 15 days, Bobby? 3 to 15 days.
Thank you.
Oh, I got one more. I just thought of something. With our agreement with the bi-state, is the bi-state used in any way for a housing jail, or that's no more?
I'm sorry?
Is the bi-state being used
No,
for a housing
we
jail?
we have not housed prisoners since 2019.
No, is anybody using the
Yes,
bi-state?
Bowie County, it was Civigenics, and then when Sheriff Neal took over, they did not renew their contract. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but they do have prisoners up there currently.
But they're not using our beds, our allocated beds. We have
No.
32 allocated beds, 32?
And that's what
Yes.
I'm getting at. And what
I'm
is
sorry.
going on with that?
Nothing. We
But
don't have an agreement.
I've
with
been,
Bowie County.
no, and I've been discussing with Sheriff Neal, and because they're now jail certified, which is the first time in a while, and he's very proud of that, and we're proud of that for him. They're trying to see what they can do to take over that square footage, and we're going to try to work with Sheriff Neal in the next year to see if they will take over that responsibility of square footage, and that's to a tune of about $160,000 a year, correct? Yes, ma'am.
We monitor monthly jail counts with Bowie County, and those beds are not being utilized.
So, Chief, the CPI is at 3%, correct?
The cap is 3%.
Caps it.
Yes.
If the CIP is less than 3%, then then a rate increase would be that percentage.
Gotcha.
If
The
it's
max
5%, we're only going to do a 3%.
Okay.
Any other questions of Chief Bennett?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I remind the board, this is an ordinance. To become official, it'd have to be read 3 times tonight. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
Motion read, abbreviated form.
Second.
I do want to make one additional comment. So in transparency, technically, this could possibly not be accepted by the quorum court. We're passing this if this ordinance passes tonight, we're passing this ordinance it will become official when the quorum court adopts this, which I'm being told today that will be on their February the 14th, next Monday night's agenda, providing they have reviewed this document. It is being reviewed now by the quorum court's attorney, by the county judge's attorney, the county's attorney. We're not anticipating any problems whatsoever. We were told today to proceed, so we're proceeding. If this does pass tonight, if for some reason the quorum court does not pass it, we will revisit it.
And the rates would go back to what we originally had.
The rates will stay at $42 until a new interlocal agreement is passed. Okay. What is the desire of the board to have it read on its first reading?
First reading in abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading. Any discussion? Would you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance approving an agreement with Miller County for housing of municipal prisoners, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read in its abbreviated form on its first reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading abbreviated form?
Let's have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance approving an agreement with Miller County for the housing of municipal prisoners, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading tonight?
Third and final reading in abbreviated form, please.
Let's have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance approving an agreement with Miller County for the housing of municipal prisoners, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its third and final reading tonight. What would be the desire of the board to adopt this ordinance?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. So the ordinance passes. The police department has asked for an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to pass an emergency clause?
Motion to attach the emergency clause.
So we have a motion to
Second.
attach an emergency clause. We have a second. So there's a motion and a second to attach emergency clause. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. And the emergency clause passes. So moving right along, we'll go into our Board of Directors commentary. Is there any board member that wishes to address the board or the community?
I'd just like to say thank you to Rhonda and the staff for such great work and having a tremendous audit. So thank you for all your hard work on that.
I also want to ditto that, the same sentiment. You guys' attention to detail is above reproach. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think this is pretty neat that we're having
ribbon cutting for the rec center on the 17th, and then on the 19th,
It's open house.
open house. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's amazing. And we'll get lots of views. So come enjoy that rec center with us.
Yes, sir.
Mine's really not a comment. I was just gonna ask, after the city manager get through, and this shouldn't take no more than 2 minutes, I would like to have an executive session. And I don't wanna say and deal with a personnel issue.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, at this time, we'll go under city manager report.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Directors, I've got a number of items for you. First, I wanted to share with you that the city clerk and I had the opportunity to attend Leadership Texarkana training session called Strategic Doing Workshop. And it's kind of the next version of strategic planning for our more modern day management folks. So it's an interesting way of getting through solving problems and working with people in the community. So Heather and I have spent some time going through that training for you. The next piece is I did get started with a focus group with the Animal Control and Adoption Center. And so we set out a process where we'll be meeting every couple of weeks for a number of weeks. I anticipate 6 to 8 weeks out. Hopefully we'll get some things through that group that help us move forward and help us listen to the community about how we're operating. So I'll share that with you. The next one, I had shared with you the proposal that I made concerning the festival area downtown. Made that presentation to the A&P Commission. We are still working through that site and trying to determine what it will finally look like and the final cost on it, and what A&P may be able to fund with that project. So we've not finished that yet. I know with the jail coming through tonight as a interlocal agreement, you're going to ask me, where's the JDC as well? We're still having discussions about the Juvenile Detention Center. I did get to do a tour of the center a couple of weeks ago. Found it in excellent condition, actually, with a few minor things that need to be done there. But again, we are still doing some research in relationship to other communities, how they're dealing with it, and we'll bring that forward at some point in time in the future. Redistricting, several of you asked me about redistricting, if we were going to do it or not do it in relationship to our wards. We did hire a consultant who is working on our numbers. We only had one ward that had less people in it, so really we'll be looking at the Ward 2 in relationship to how do we backfill that, or how will they make some recommendations in relationship to the numbers as part of that. Director Harris has a question.
My question is on that, that's the first time I ever heard that a consultant being hired for the new ward, and from my understanding, it's really based on this board up here for redoing the ward, and how much is being paid for that.
So we're paying for that out of the administrative general fund
How much?
funds? I'd have to go look that up for you, Mr. Harris, but I'll get that for you, sir. But it's a reasonable price for an external service looking internally at us, which is the better way for me to look at things that involve where lines are drawn, et cetera, is to have somebody from outside do that for us and come in and look at our numbers.
Is that usually a 10% difference, like 10% increase or 10% decrease that kind of triggers that?
Yes. We are working on beginning what I call our dumpster cleanup campaign. We're working on trying to kick that off in March the 5th. We'll get some flyers out here shortly. So if you'll remember, those are going to be 4 different sites in the community, the first Saturday of each month from 8 a.m. to like 1 p.m., I believe. So there'll be 2 dumpsters at those 4 sites, each of those Saturdays. So the first Saturday in the month, hopefully our community will get used to having those available and fill those up for us to help us clean up the community.
Jay, I just had a couple of questions about that. That one, in reviewing the original flyer, I myself was just a little bit confused about, and I've actually showed it to a few citizens to see maybe if we might could clarify some of that and then ask a public works question. But one, we have all the things on the flyer what we won't accept. It might be, in my opinion, better to put on there what we will accept. There's a whole list of things on there that I know you can't put in there, but it might be better for us to look at that before we distribute them, to look at a list of things that we can accept, because we have a rather large list of things we won't accept. And the second thing is, have we discussed through Public Works, are we going to man those dumpsters that day, patrol those dumpsters to where you just can't pull up there and put your mattresses in there, dump stuff on the outside of it, et cetera, et cetera?
They will be manned, Mayor. Yes, sir. And I'll look at that will accept list. That's a different way of approaching that. But we do have some things that we can't put in that we won't be able to put in there too. So we'll have to try to figure out how to word that.
Email that to us, please.
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to get that flyer to you. It's still in development. Mayor saw one of the early drafts, so. The next one is, of course, the rec center, ribbon cutting. And so I'll ask y'all to please put that on your calendar for the 17th at 4:30. You know, it's not too often that we get to step up for our community, and this is one of those great opportunities that we should all celebrate and be thankful that we have this type of facility. You know, this facility's kind of gone through some historical significance in the community as well, too. And it's great to see it being rebirthed again, okay, as a new use and a highly used community activity facility. So sports, community meetings, banquets, whatever, we will have lots of uses for this facility. And the last piece I have for you is I have leadership Texarkana this week, and I also am attending the Police Department Citizens Academy this week, so just to give you some information. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for the city manager? Yes, ma'am?
Okay, where is this rec center? I'm sorry.
It's the Old Boys and Girls Club,
Okay, next
over the viaduct next to the animal shelter. Yes, ma'am.
American Legion.
And
Yes,
what's the name?
It's Texarkana Recreational Center.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club any longer. It'll be it's run by the city. This,
And what are they going to be doing in the rec center? What is it going to entail? I see them play sports down there, but what's inside going to be used for? You said rec center?
it's going to be used for the community's use. We're going to have an after-school tutoring program in there. We've got potential to do daycare facility in there. We have an adult center where adults can gather. We have a brand-new kitchen. It can be rented out for family reunions, a number of issues that we have. We're going to have a full-time recreational center director now to run that rec center for us. We obtained a low-cost loan 2 years ago, maybe in the latter part of 19, early part of 20, to renovate the rec center using our block grant funds to be able to pay that back so that the city is not out the expense through the general fund of doing that. So we're excited about that. It's something that I think everybody will be proud of once we get it running. The other side of that would be is there will be recreational leagues once the fields are renovated. The baseball, softball fields are renovated. There will be the ability to have leagues out there as well.
What about security?
Well, it's a good question, but your chief of security is sitting back there on the back row, so we'll ask her.
Very good.
Sorry, you was asking me about trash cans. Talking about trash cans. Can you please repeat the question?
the question she was asking was about, when we get the rec center open, what type of security presence will we have there for the new recreational center?
Our officers will be able to stop by all hours of the day. We've already been in contact with John McCoy, he's gonna be the director, and he's already sent out the big day events for the 19th. We'll have officers there, showing the cars and stuff as well. But I think we have a really good working relationship with our community center people, and they know how community oriented we are, so I think we will find short officer presence allow them around the townhouse.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, if not, we're going to entertain a motion to, Heather, look at the clock up there.
Motion to
Motion for
We're
adjournment.
going to entertain a motion to adjourn, and then we'll excuse all guests, and we'll have a brief executive session.
After Jeff.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Could you call the roll, please? What?
No, we
Oh.
adjourn yet, because we got, yeah.
I thought we opened and closed an executive session,
Heather was talking.
but we do not.
You
Well,
can-
you'll still be in session, so to speak, but you
Okay.
can turn after.
So at this time, we appreciate y'all's attendance, and we'll need to excuse you guys so that we can have an executive session. Hey, Heather, Jenny, bring me them resolutions.
Yes.